Hey everybody, and welcome back. Boy, do we have a good one for you tonight. Have you ever thought about haunted houses? I'm sure everybody who watches this show has. I grew up in a little town in the north of England, and there was always that one house that everybody was scared to walk past. They got the creeps from it when they saw it, and there was lots of stories and things like that. Halloween, there was always the dares from the school kids, so who's going to go and knock on the door there, and are you going to survive? Lots of rumours and all kinds of things come about these kind of houses. Well, tonight we have one of those houses specifically that we're going to be talking about. All of your favourite paranormal celebs have visited this place and done shows in this place, and it is reportedly the most haunted house in all of Texas. We are lucky enough to have the owner of the Hill House Manor with us, and we will be talking with her shortly. Unfortunately, Jeremy can't make it tonight, but we do have Fernando with us, so Fernando and I will be getting right into the nuts and bones of what's been happening at the Hill House Manor. So without any more ado, we will jump straight across to Fernando and the owner of the Hill House Manor, Linda. And we have with us Linda from the Hill House Manor, and obviously Fernando. How are you guys?
We're doing good.
That's good. Everyone's a little bit funny because we did actually start a bit of a conversation before we got to this point, and then we got totally enthralled, didn't we, Fernando? And then we realised we'd forgotten to press the record button, so we're recording now. So, Linda, we were talking about how you first came to purchase the Hill House Manor and what your experience was there and what you learned about it. So, would you like to start again?
Yes, I recall that I asked just to see if the information I'm looking into this website is correct. If Linda purchased the house in 2004, and then take it away, Linda.
All right. My husband and I purchased the house along with other properties. There were about 10 or 11 other properties that were tied together with this property. It was part of something. It's a tax move. I had just sold a commercial property in Louisville, and because of that, I had to turn around and buy a commercial property in order to do a 1031 exchange, which this was considered a commercial property because there were so many properties tied together and they were all rental properties. So that was considered commercial. So that's what we did. We bought these properties, and they were in a part of town. Now we're in Gainesville, Texas, which is a small town. And these properties all touch each other. It's called contiguous. And that's why they can be considered one property. Anyway, it was a distressed neighborhood. You would think of a red light district with hookers and drug dealers, but that's the perfect kind of property to buy because you go in, you fix it up, you move those people on, and you get better tenants in. You fix up the properties, and the property value goes up, and the rental
value goes up as well.
Value goes up. So that's what we did. And this property was a triplex, which made it very sweet. A triplex, it means there was 3 units in the house. The upstairs was a unit, and there were 2 units downstairs. One of the units downstairs was in complete disrepair. It didn't even have electric in it. I mean, it was going to have to be completely redone. But once we redid it, we would then have a triplex that would be paying rent from 3 different units, which made it, a sweet deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, we spent a lot of time on the rest of the properties because that property was actually in the best shape of any property in the neighborhood. Those units were rentable right then. And we weren't worried about fixing up that 3rd unit yet. We wanted to get the rest of the properties fixed up and get the neighborhood raised up first. So that's what we did. And after about 2 years, we had the neighborhood pretty much stabilized. but we couldn't keep tenants in this house.
That's
what we
always
now call Hill House Manor.
that's always a worry.
We checked back on the rent rolls, and the longest anybody had stayed in the house was 6 months, and that was the longest. We had people move out after 2 months, and it wasn't like they were giving notice. They would just move out. Sometimes they would leave the furniture.
Oh, wow.
They were gone. And
were you able to ever get any word as to why they just left?
oh, it was always somebody was sick. Somebody that was in the family was sick, and they had to all move to Utah for them to get treatment for whatever was wrong with them. Or somebody that lived in California was part of the family and was really sick, and the whole family needed to move to California. And it was always they were moving out of state, according to what they were telling us, when they told us anything at all. Usually they didn't even tell us anything. They just left. And we would go over and the place would be empty. Or it would have furniture in it, but no people. And after 2 years of this, we decided to not try to rent it anymore, because back then we were getting a deposit of maybe $300 to move in. And you can do $300 worth of damage just moving in and out of the house.
Easy, yeah.
And that's what they were doing. They were moving in and moving out and damaging the walls and, the carpets. Back then it had carpet. Now it doesn't have carpet anymore. We've gone back down to the original hardwood floors. But anyway,
that's amazing.
It was just too expensive to keep renting it out. It was actually costing us money to rent it out. So what we decided was, since we were coming up every weekend, we lived an hour away from the property at that point in time. Now we live around the corner. But back then we lived about an hour away, and we would come up like on a Friday and work all day and then drive back home and then drive back up the next morning and work all day Saturday and, back and forth. And we decided we would turn one of the units into like our private office, with a room in the back with a bed and an air conditioner, and it had a functional bathroom and a functional kitchen. So we would spend the weekend in Gainesville at this house, and we didn't even try to rent out the other part of the house. We just left it as it was. We concentrated on the other houses in the neighborhood, fixing them up. Anyway, at one point my husband was showing a property across the street from this house, and the woman he was showing the house to pointed to Hill House, what we now refer to as Hill House Manor. She pointed to it and said, "That house is haunted. My aunt or grandmother or somebody lived there 30 years ago, and it was haunted, and it's still haunted." And my husband, said, "Oh, well, that's good to know," and he came home and told me. And I thought, well, if people in the neighborhood were telling me that I was living in a haunted house, I would start to question every noise.
Yeah.
I would start to be convinced that the house was haunted. And so that's what I thought was going on. People were moving into the house, and the neighbors were telling them that it was a haunted house, and now everything that goes bump in the night is a ghost, and they get scared and move on. That's what I thought. But one weekend we were up there, and it was a Saturday, and it was the middle of the day in the summertime. It was hot as hell. And this house, we had not put central heat and air in. We just had a couple of air conditioner window units, right? Well, there wasn't a window unit in the bathroom. It was hot, so we'd leave the door open so the air conditioning could go into the bathroom as well. But anyway, I had been ripping carpet up out of a bathroom. Don't ask me why anybody would carpet a bathroom if they had.
I mean, I'm jotting down questions for you right now.
I was ripping funky carpet out of this little bathroom in the heat, and I was just pouring up sweat and just nasty. And I gave up for the day. I said, "That's it. I've had it." And I went back to the house, and at the time, I had been on a diet and I had lost 15 pounds, and I was very proud of it.
Okay.
And so I went in the bedroom and I'm getting undressed to take a shower. And my husband had already given up and he was in the bedroom sitting in an easy chair on his laptop. And he said, "Looking good," as I was getting undressed. And I said, "Well, thank you." And I went on and got in the shower. And I turned the shower on and I'm just standing there in the water, just cooling down, right?
Mhm.
And I've got a cheap Walmart shower curtain up that you can kind of see through it, but you can't see clearly through it.
I
You know
got
the
you.
one I'm
Yep.
talking about? Cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my husband comes out of the bedroom and he stands in the doorway of the bathroom and he says, "Looking good." And I said, "Well, thank you again."
Uh.
And we spoke. We had a few, sentences back and forth, and he turned and left in the other direction from what he came from. And it was less than a minute. It was probably like 30 seconds later. Here he comes from the bedroom again and stands in the doorway. And I said, "How did you get back in the bedroom?" He said, "I've been in the bedroom. Who were you talking to?" And I was like,
Oh,
"Oh my God."
I just got goosebumps then.
Wow, that
Whoa.
was a good one.
That was on my ghost story. I mean, that's the one that got me on my ghost story, which is a TV show over here. I don't know if y'all get it. Well,
No,
New York
not
No,
would.
yeah.
not here.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
Australia, I don't know.
So, was it disappointing that it wasn't your husband?
Well, you know what? There's more to the story. There's more to the story. So we got on my ghost story. I got on with Jimmy Billman, who had an investigating team at the time, and he had spent the night in the house by himself. And he had taped it and he had sent off a demo tape to my ghost story, and they had agreed to have us on. And they came out to do what they call a B-roll,
Yep.
which is footage that they could use in the show.
Okay.
But we didn't do any real talking, I don't think. Anyway, he started describing a ghost that he had seen the night he spent the night at the house by himself. And he sounded familiar to me, just the way he would stand, and there was characteristics about him. I said, "Hold on a minute. I've got some pictures back in the back room." Now, my late husband, who died in 1996, I think it was 1996. Now I don't remember, and I'm going to get yelled at about that. Anyway, he
Secret
was
safe with us and our viewers.
right.
Yeah.
He was a Marine in Vietnam,
Okay.
and after the war, he was in the reserves. And I don't know if you know military people, but they kind of tend to run together.
Yeah.
They kind of have packs, you know.
A
If you've got a
brotherhood.
picture of one of them, you've got a picture of 5 of them.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. I had pictures of my late husband along with other people.
Mhm.
So I brought out about 6 or 7 pictures and I said, "Do you see the man that you saw? Do you see him in any of these pictures?" And he pointed straight to my late husband.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I said, "Okay." So my late husband
Still
does
visiting.
hang out here occasionally. And it was him that had probably had the conversation with me in the shower. Not my husband, but my late husband.
Yes. Yes.
That makes sense.
Okay.
It makes sense.
So my question is, how is this house connected to your late husband?
Not in any way at all.
Oh.
I did not even buy these properties until he had been dead for over 5 years.
Wow, this is interesting. This is
But
interesting.
I had a box of things that were his. Photos from Vietnam, books, just things that I couldn't part with.
Okay.
And my husband didn't have a problem with that. I mean, he understood that my husband had died.
Yeah.
I didn't divorce him. He didn't divorce me. There was no animosity. He died.
Yeah.
And my husband was very understanding about that, but preferred that I keep those things in storage, not in the house we were living in.
Of course.
So there's a box of my husband's things in the house, and that may be the attachment. Or it could be me.
I think it's more you because they still come to visit everybody, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's actually that's actually quite a nice story to hear that.
Very, very. Have you ever had any experiences as far as your late husband is concerned elsewhere?
No. No.
Wow.
That actually makes me question the location itself, if it's on some sort of a nexus point, or like a crossing ley lines where there's a lot of power there.
Suggested ley lines. Some people have suggested that. Some people have suggested that it's a portal, or some part of the house is a portal.
Well,
like wells
are a big thing, and if you get ley lines that cross, that's where they always talk about portals and stuff. So it would be interesting to have a look at local maps of the area, ley line maps, and see if anything does correspond very close to it.
I don't know how to get a hold of a ley line map. I've put it out there on the internet. If you have any access to that, I would appreciate it.
I'll look into it.
No one has ever come up with it.
I'll look into it.
We actually like to do a lot of research. So since you confirmed that you bought the house in 2004, in the same article that I'm reading, it is saying that the house was built at some point in the 1850s.
Probably. It could have been earlier. It could have been a little later, but it was around the mid 1800s, yes. And it was built, it was not built as the house it is today. It was a one-room house.
Okay.
Not a one room with a bathroom or a one room with a kitchen. It was one room. The whole house, one room.
Just a box.
When they added on to it, instead of adding on, they actually brought in another house and attached the two, married the two together. And the walls between those two rooms are about that thick.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's because it's two outside walls that have been joined together. And
so when you mentioned that it's the threeplex.
Yes, it's
two floors above the floor, above the ground, and one floor under the ground.
No, it's two floors on the ground, and it's a two-story house.
Yeah,
it's a 3,000 square foot house.
Oh, wow!
3,000 plus square foot house.
So wait a minute. So if you got the deal for like 10 houses to do this whole, how many acres?
I don't know.
If it's okay to know.
I don't know. They're built on top of each other. I mean, there's not much of a yard on any of them except the house I'm living in.
Okay. This is an interesting question. Now, because you've got a fair chunk of land there, is there any history of any Native American battlefields or burial grounds or anything close by?
Yes, but I don't have any real information on it. Now, we have had people make contact with Native Americans at the house, not on EVPs, we get all kinds of EVPs, but they're usually always in English.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they're not, then we don't pick up on it.
That's understandable, unless you have somebody there that speaks the language.
It's hard enough to make out an EVP in English. If there was an EVP in a Native American tongue, I wouldn't be able to spot it.
No, you'd probably just get messed up in the background noise, yeah.
Right. But I had a group of kids, and this is another funny story. And I wrote about it, as a matter of fact, in one of my books. we had a group that was supposed to be 12 teenagers, and somehow word got out at school, and 35 kids showed up.
Oh, wow.
35 teenagers.
Yep.
With 5 chaperones, and the 5 chaperones ended up off in a room investigating by themselves, and I ended up with all the kids in the main room. So I taught them. I got out the dowsing rods and I said, we're going to learn how to do dowsing rods.
Wow.
And
Oh,
I taught the
see.
kids how to use dowsing rods.
So much respect for you right there, because that is one of the things that we do here. You see all the TV shows where they bring out all these fancy gadgets and gizmos and things that light up and beep and all of that. And I'll be honest, we do use a lot of those. But we always go back to the basics of dowsing rods because they work so well. You know what I mean? And because you can film somebody holding them, you can usually see if they're manipulating.
You can see the result.
Yes.
You can see it with your own eyes, the results. And dowsing rods work great at Hill House Manor.
That's what I was just about to ask. So how did they go at the house?
Oh, they had a great time. They made contact with some Native Americans. And I don't know, maybe once you're dead, you can speak any language. I don't know, because they were asking questions and getting answers. Yes and no, questions and answers. And it turned out they were talking to a family that had been in a tribe that was on the other side of the Red River, which put them in Oklahoma, which Oklahoma is known as Indian Territory.
Wow. Okay.
That's where the Indians were shuffled off to reservations in Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a lot of Indian nation to this day. The Chickasaw, the Choctaw, I think there's the Cherokee Nation. There are plenty of Native American nations in Oklahoma. And they made contact with them and had a conversation with them. And like I said, I wrote that up as a short story in my book, Hill House Manor, 13 Ghost Stories. I don't know. Do you guys know that I'm an author?
Yes.
I actually wanted to shout out to the viewers that you have a nice setup of books in Amazon. I'm looking at them right now, and it's basically, there's even a series called Brandon's Ghosts.
Now that is for kids from 8 to 12. Although I have adults that read them and are just happy to get a new one.
It's funny. It's funny you should say that, because quite often adults will start by reading kids' ghost stories so they don't get too scared before they get into the more high-end stuff.
and Brandon's Ghosts is like that. It's not really scary. It's not intending to scare anybody. It's just, we incorporate a little boy gets scared because he's home alone, and he gets visited by a ghost who helps him through the fear. And then the rest of the series is just him ghost hunting and finding that it's not always a ghost.
Yes.
Sometimes a bump in the night is just a bump in the night.
Exactly.
That's
it's usually the majority of the time, actually, but not all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. But this kid has a ghost that goes with him. So there's always a ghost in the ghost story because he's got a ghost that travels with him.
And
but usually what they find is something other than a ghost.
And this is it.
Interesting.
Funny, you heads back to when you talk about your ex-husband and everything like that. Just because we can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. They could be hanging around us all the time, which begs the question. Always behave yourself because you don't know who's watching. But
exactly,
that's for sure.
I've always said that, and it's a thing for me that when people talk about doing like a board session or something like that, and they want to bring spirits in, It's a dangerous thing, I feel, because you're opening a door, and yes, the intended could come through, but while that door's open, you don't know who else can come through. And what you see time and time and again, especially with teenagers that try to do this for a thrill, is they'll get something that scares them and they just up and out, but that door's been left open for who knows what else to come through. And it makes you wonder that at what point did Hill House Manor actually start becoming reportedly haunted? Because I'm assuming by the sound of it,
30 years before I bought it.
well, it could have been even before that.
We've got that woman that pointed to it and said that house is haunted.
Yeah, but that's
for 30 years.
Yeah, that's the first that you know of. Who knows what happened before that as well? You know what I mean? 200 years history is a lot.
Here I'm seeing that, it's a 200-year-old home. It's a former bordello, and
that's a rumor.
That's a rumor?
I believe that the rumor is true, but it's just a rumor that it's not a bordello. During Prohibition, they had what was called a speakeasy.
Speakeasy, okay.
Because you had to speak softly the password at the door to get in.
Is that what that means?
So it's like a club. It's like a club.
Speakeasy, right. And yes, they probably had women upstairs. That's where most of the cornier come from.
I have like a bunch of questions right now because I'm just doing research as you talk. But here it says that that location has a lot of death, murder, and suicide.
It has a lot of people pass through it. And by people, I'm not talking about corporeal people. I'm talking about non-corporeal people.
Okay.
It is like a portal. If you go, and it's also, are you familiar with the law of attraction?
Yeah.
Law of attraction.
What you look for in life is what you get. What you focus on is what you get. Well, a lot of people go into Hill House Manor looking for a murder victim.
Oh, okay.
And Hill House Manor tends to give you what you're looking for.
It's almost like, it's somewhat like manifestation.
If you're looking to be scared, something will happen that'll scare you. And I've seen this happen myself, one person in a party got so scared, she was terrified. She was shaking. She was so terrified. And they would not take her away from the house. She hadn't driven herself. They'd come as a group. And they would not let her out of the house. And everything stopped. There was no more activity. Everything stopped.
Wow.
Okay.
So these spirits are not there to terrify people. That's not what they're up to.
Okay.
Whatever they're up to, I think it's just like Six Flags for ghosts as well as Six Flags for people.
I gotcha.
They come to have a good time with the people that are coming to have a good time looking for spirits.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say, because unfortunately within the paranormal field, we have certain people that are looking for we don't
allow demon hunters in the building.
Yes. Awesome. Yes,
we do not look for demons. We do not condone people looking for demons. We don't want demons.
No.
And when someone tells us that they've encountered a demon, I know that my spirits are up to having some fun with somebody. I was there when that happened one night. There's one room in the house where there's this old guy that, it's not that he doesn't like women, but his attitude towards women is that of some man from the middle 1800s.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
Women are for birthing, cooking, sewing,
Yeah.
That's all he wants to do with women. He doesn't want to sit down and have a conversation with women. So if you want to communicate with that particular spirit, if he's there that night, you need to get the women out of the room and just have the guys sit around and talk, and he will join in.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's what I told them. I didn't tell them that whole story. I just said, just get the guys together, go back to that room, have a conversation, and see if you get an EVP. And no guarantees ever.
No.
Right?
Yeah,
No.
of course.
Well, they took a woman with them. The woman wanted to be part of it, I'm a woman and I'm going to be part of it. So at some point, she comes out to the front porch, which is where I'm sitting, and she says, there's a demon in there. There's a demon in there. I said, wait a minute. How do you know there's a demon in there? Well, he told us. I said, he told you he was a demon? She said, well, we asked him questions and he answered yes. I said, so you asked him if he was a demon and he said yes. She said yes.
Most demons don't usually do that.
Right. I said, it scared you enough to make you leave, and that's what he was trying to do, was get you to leave the room. And
mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Right.
She was outside with you.
It wasn't a demon. It was my curmudgeon that doesn't care to have women in the conversation. But he convinced her he was a demon by answering the question yes. If you ask them if they're a demon.
Yeah,
well,
basically,
Fernando knows my history. I've actually been asked by a local, Father Barry May here in Western Australia. He was an ordained exorcist here. And,
Wow.
Sadly he's gone now, but he asked me to be involved in documenting. I wasn't actually involved in an exorcism itself, but he wanted me to document it all on camera for him. And I've actually witnessed 3 exorcisms, or at least 3 sessions of exorcisms. And because they're usually not just a single night event, they can take quite a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
the first thing that they do is they don't want you to know what they are. They like to play in the shadows and do things like that. So if you ask, are you a demon, and it says yes, you want almost 100% guaranteed it's not that. And what you were saying there, the spirits that like to play games like that, they are the best sort of spirits that you want to be encountering, because you could have an absolute ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
This is a place to go have fun with it.
And that's where my next,
like that's what it is.
Yeah, that's where my next question comes in. At what point did you actually feel it was a good idea to start opening your house up to paranormal teams who want to come in and investigate?
Well, when I told the people that I worked with about my experience, and that I was pretty sure that the house was actually haunted, they wanted to have a party, a sleepover, and, investigate it. Now, they weren't paranormal investigators, but they had seen, probably Ghost Hunter was the only thing that was on back then. Isn't that what it was called? Ghost Hunters?
Yeah, the original one was Ghost Hunters, yeah.
I've never watched any of those shows. I'm not into it.
I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of them either. I've seen a few. But
they wanted to spend the night and experience this. So that's what we did. We had a little sleepover. There was maybe 4 or 5 of us. And bottom line, there were a few things that happened. And so in Denton, which is about half an hour, 45 minutes from here, and it has 2 colleges. It has UNT and it has Texas Women's University. And there was a team in that town that heard about the activity we'd had and wanted to come and investigate. And I said, okay, sure. And they came and investigated, and, they had results. They captured orbs and EVPs, and they were satisfied, and they told their friends. And now we're losing money on this house at this point, right? We're making payments on it, and we're paying taxes on it, and we're making nothing. So the next one that called and asked if they could come spend the night and investigate, I said, well, would you pay? And they said, yeah, sure. So I said, okay. And we opened it up. And it's all been word of mouth. And podcasts like this, it's never been advertised. It's
That is
all
the
been word of mouth.
absolute best way it can happen. Yeah.
Yes.
Reputation.
Yes. I agree because now there, especially here in New York, there are so many locations, but it basically became a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
And it just, it kind of, like for me as a paranormal investigator, like I'm not even interested. I am more interested in going to locations that is not even like almost a hush hush kind of place. That's where I'm more interested.
I wouldn't even give out our address unless you were reserved. You didn't get the address for the first few years. It was never published anywhere, nothing. Now I've actually got a little sign above the door that says Hill House Manor.
Ghosts here. come visit.
Enter at your own discretion.
I've got a big one for you, right? In the intro, I said growing up in a small town, there's that one house in every town where people are scared to go and knock on the door at Halloween and things like that. How do you find Halloween at the Hill House?
We are closed on Halloween.
Wow.
No one is allowed to investigate on Halloween.
That's
because the people are looking for a different kind of experience on Halloween.
Yes.
Than what we offer. And I don't want that in my house.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
See, what I'm hearing now is you're a very responsible property owner, and you're what's the word I'm looking for? You're very sympathetic to the spirits of the house, and they are part of the history of the house. So there's a lot of people that go, we want rid of them and things like that. But it sounds like you've got a great bunch that you're happy to have hanging around.
Well, we cleanse the house periodically. We go through and sage it and bless it, and we want to keep the spirits positive.
Yeah.
We want to keep the atmosphere positive. And we go to great lengths to keep it that way.
That's amazing. I commend you for that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But as far as getting rid of them, I had one guy, he stopped speaking to me because he came in and did a cleansing on the house and announced to the paranormal community that Hill House Manor was no longer haunted.
And that is the most disrespectful thing to do without permission.
He had cleansed it and it was no longer haunted. And he got mad at me when I kept renting it out. And people called me and said, we heard that it's not haunted anymore. I said, well, you're the investigators. Come investigate and find out. You tell me.
Good answer.
And they did, and they got evidence, and he was upset.
Well, that's because you just outed him he's outed himself as a fraud, basically.
Yeah, he completely discredited himself.
He's discredited
nobody's
himself.
Nobody's going to take him serious.
Yep.
That's great. Because we don't need people like that in the field.
No.
There's something going around called paradrama.
Yep.
And it's real.
That's been going around for 20 years.
Oh, it's been going longer than that.
To say.
Yeah.
Well, as long as I've been involved, there's been paradrama.
Yeah.
There's always somebody jealous of somebody else or putting somebody else down because of the techniques they use or because of the claims that they make, or they're talking about their evidence being faked or something, which I don't know. Most of the orbs you see at Hill House Manor are dust. It's an old house. We don't go over and clean it every day. We have a group that takes care of it, but it's not like it gets dusted every day. We have a lot of dust, and you get a lot of dust orbs. We call them dorbs.
Well, for a I'm gonna use the word professional paranormal investigator, we would tell the difference.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah.
There is a difference. There is a difference.
Very much so.
I
much
sent
so.
you a picture of a cluster of orbs that to me doesn't look like dust. They have qualities to them that it's not dust.
Hmm.
I sent you a film of I don't know what to call it. It looks like a bird flying across the screen.
Yes. Yep.
And that's not dust.
No.
That's not dust. That's not a spider. That's something else entirely.
Interesting.
And I've seen a ball of light floating in the air with my own two eyes.
And
at
that
Hill
is
House.
definitely not dust. And that's one of the things
That
I've
is
always
not
said.
dust.
If you see an orb with your bare eyes and it's self-illuminating, that is not
That's
camera
not dust.
reflection. It's not dust. It's not an insect. It's not rain. It's not any of the usual things that we discount.
Nope.
It's something you're seeing with your own eyes. And if you're seeing it with your own eyes, I mean, I know there's always that possibility that your eyes could be deceived, but when you're seeing an orb, you're actually seeing an orb. It's a matter of working out what that orb is.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I have had enough people tell me that they have seen a ball of light with their own eyes at Hill House to know that some of the orbs over there are not dust. But I will say that the majority of the orbs are dust.
And again,
Hill
that
House.
that adds to your credibility. It's you're
Yes.
saying all the
I
right
mean-
things. It's great.
Yes, because I came across so many people, location owners, and also investigators, and they're all trying to sell. It doesn't seem like you're trying to sell. Like you're being genuine,
Yeah.
and it's incredible. Like you are really a rare gem within the paranormal field.
Well,
That's
thank
for
you.
sure.
Yes, that's
That is
yes,
for
that's
sure.
definitely. And in all honesty, it makes me want to come and visit your house that much more because of the
Oh, yeah.
genuinity.
Oh yeah.
That's not even a word, but you can always put it
But
down
that's
and
a
make
great
it.
word to create, though.
Yes.
Well,
yes,
Fernando will
new
tell
word.
you.
New word.
Fernando will tell you. I come up with all sorts of weird words that, we can make them
that
canon.
should be part of the dictionary for sure.
They should be. They should be. I do believe they should be. But going back to what you were talking about before and what Fernando was talking about paradrama and stuff like that. That's the reason why we actually connected, wasn't it, Fernando? Because he started Strangers Minds, which it's a collective of people, and I've started the Paranormal Collective, and it's about getting groups that aren't interested in the paranormal drama situation because we're all in it for the same reasons. A lot of them watch the same shows, that have the same equipment, that do the same sort of investigations and everything. What's the point in arguing with each other? Or a lot of people try to take ownership of certain locations and then they poo-poo anybody else's evidence so that they're always the best. And Fernando, myself, Jeremy, we're all of the opinion we're in it for the same reasons. Why can't we all get along, share our information? And that's ultimately what we're all about. And I think people like you and your location that you share out to people who are interested, that's the right kind of people that you want coming through. You know what I mean? I've watched some of the videos of people that have gone through investigating your house, and some of them are very dramatic, but there's some
Definitely.
it's
We've come
interesting.
across a lot of dramatic people for sure.
I'm not saying dramatic in a bad way. I'm just saying dramatic.
No. Like, oh my God! Did you hear a knock? Yeah,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to be
They
real.
know how to react.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it makes a good video. I've got to admit, it does make a good video, and I may include a couple of snippets throughout this podcast for people to have a look at. But I am genuinely hoping that when we get over there, we can connect and we can come down and visit and check the place out for ourselves.
For sure.
Oh, good. I look forward to it.
I'll probably go before you get here, Gary, just in case.
No, you're not. No, you're not allowed to now. We're going to start some drama right here now. You're not allowed to go until we go. He's got a little bit of a head start on us by a few thousand miles, so.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, but yeah, as far as the power drama is concerned, with Gary out in Australia, with the Paranormal Collective, I'm also a part of a couple of other paranormal groups. Our Paranormal World, it's basically a collective group of people all around the United States, and we all just join in. And as of right now, I tend to be nice to everybody. There
That's
is always there's always a word of mouth of people, oh, this person is bad, this person is bad. But the way I see things, that if I, like if I'm with this person and that person's not doing nothing directly to me, I cannot go by word of mouth. I go by their actions. I
right.
mean,
Absolutely.
so I've been blessed enough that with Strangers Minds, I don't even have a year with it as far as social media is concerned, because I've been doing paranormal for over 20 years. But I just recently decided to, uh, I'm gonna try something new. I guess a midlife crisis kind of thing, or whatever. So I'm like, let me try something new, and then I started on the social media, and then I started connecting with a bunch of people, and my experience as far as connecting with different investigators. I mean, I've conducted investigations with investigators that they would go in and they'll talk to spirit. They don't even know. The first time that they're in this location and they're like, "Oh, demon this, demon that," and I cut ties right away. I cut ties right away.
Hmm.
Um, that's not how you approach an entity,
No.
because the way I see it, one of these days we're all gonna pass. Whether or not we stay here, I wouldn't want nobody coming into a place that I'm affiliated with and calling me a demon, because that's disrespectful.
And
So
and that's why I actually brought up about the being involved in the exorcisms and things like that, is simply to prove a point that yes, they are out there. I hate to use the word demon because everybody who watches this show knows I don't like using that word, because it's a religious term. It's not a spiritualistic term. They are out there, but they don't like to make themselves known. But there are so many people who go into a location and they say automatically, "Oh, it's jumping straight to the worst of the worst," and that is not the case.
Right.
That is not the case one bit. And
No.
they end up doing a disservice to the whole field because they're misrepresenting themselves and what's going on. And then going back to what Fernando was just saying about when we leave this world, well, you get to go and watch people in the shower, apparently. So it has its perks.
What's going on, Gary? although this,
I'll be having a word with my wife.
I'm gonna go back to a question that I've been holding off, and it's referring to when Linda said that is, something was going on and it was corny.
Horny.
Horny.
H-O-R. Yeah.
Oh, he
Horny.
totally missed that conversation.
I read somewhere. Where is it? That you mentioned that there was something sexual going on in the house.
Well, yeah. You've got 3 rooms upstairs that were used by ladies of the evening. And there have been EVPs that, like, oh baby, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh man! So this is like that scene from Ghostbusters with.
Oh gosh, he went there straight away. That's a different thing. That's succubus.
Oh man.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna have to go soon, but Linda, if you want to let everybody know where they can find your books and where they can contact you about arranging a visit to your house, you're welcome
Well, you
to.
can always find me at lindaanthonyhill.com. All my books are listed there. I don't know if there's a link to Hill House Manor there or not, but you can contact me through that site. or linda@hillhousemanor.com is my email. And that's how people usually book the house, is emailing me, and we get things going that way.
How
I'll
far?
send them a flyer.
Yeah. How far in advance do they have to book the house?
It depends on the time of year. Although Friday the 13th tends to book up a few months in advance. For some reason, people like to take it on Friday the 13th. I used to have a girl that would book it for Friday the 13th for the whole year. She
Wow.
would call me at the first of the year and book every Friday the 13th.
That's a bit selfish.
Yeah.
But you would think it would be seasonal, and it would be most busy at Halloween. But it's busy in October, but it's also busy in November. But like right now, we don't have more than 1 or 2 nights booked for January. So it depends.
All right.
So, is it available throughout the week, or is it specific
Yes.
day of the week?
It's all week.
All week.
We're open every night except Halloween.
Okay. So it's from 8 p.m. to 2 p.m. So if somebody wants to, let's say,
8 p.m. to 2 p.m. Where'd you get that?
from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. I'm sorry.
Where did you get that?
I'll tell you right now. Hauntedrooms.com.
Okay, well, they put on an event, or they used to. They don't anymore, but they used to put on events at the house.
Okay, so Gary
And
could
their
just edit this whole
events
thing
went
out.
from 8 to 2.
No,
But-
I'm leaving that in,
No,
man.
you can rent the house. You can rent the house and start at like 6 o'clock in the evening and go until 10 o'clock the next morning.
So is the house set up for, like, I don't know, I guess you could say like an Airbnb, or is it just for
No.
investigations?
It's just for investigations. Now, there are some sofas that you can grab a nap on. People will bring blow-up mattresses or just sleeping bags so that they can get some sleep, but it's not a B&B.
Okay.
There's no linens, there's no breakfast, but there is a kitchen that has everything but a stove. It has a refrigerator and 2 coffee makers, and it's got one of those roller things for hot dogs, and microwave oven, freezer.
So you can still,
pretty much everything.
yeah, you can still crash at the night. It's just not a bed as such. And
Right.
from what Fernando was
you
saying,
can-
it's pretty mean if you roll up at 2 o'clock. You got to get out now. 2 o'clock in the morning.
No, I mean, because I'm
But
actually
with haunted
considering.
rooms, yes, they would have events that would last from 8 p.m. till 2 a.m.
I think I saw on your
That was
Facebook page that there was a news lady did a video where they're doing an event there, and I think that was like 6 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that. It was on one of your Facebook pages, I think.
That may be. But when you book a room, when you book the house through me, you're booking it from whatever time you want to start in the afternoon until the next morning around 10.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you're not out by 10, I'm not over there beating on you or anything. And most people leave at like 3 or 4 in the morning, or they'll stay and grab a nap and leave out around 9 or 10.
No, you don't want to do that. You've got to stick it out at least until the sun comes up. You haven't given it a good shot if you don't stay until the sun comes up.
Yeah,
That's right.
Just last month, I was at a location in Connecticut, and we were there for 4 days, and we
That's the way to
just
do it.
and we basically just went to our hotel room to just unwind, and we would just head back in 2-3 hours. But
Now,
we
you want to
spent-
do something like that. There is a bed and breakfast about 3 or 4 blocks from here that is above a restaurant called Sarah's on the Square. And the bed and breakfast, she has 4 rooms upstairs that it's called Shady Lady, the Shady Lady.
Shady lady.
Oh, that's cool.
And people will book a night with them and a night with us and use that as a hotel room, and then investigate at the house, but they're also investigating at the hotel room because it's haunted as well.
Oh, see, that is the ultimate weekend. You spend
like
a couple of nights at the Shady Lady,
So
and then you go
we
to.
can leave the wives at home at this point, right, Gary?
You do realize that when I come to America, my beautiful wife Lynn will be right beside me. So spending a night at the night at the Shady Lady is going to be more stressful for me than it will be for anybody else.
That's good. That's awesome. That's great. That's great.
Anyway, I think
there's also a Hilton a few blocks away from us, but I would, I always recommend the Shady Lady.
That sounds good. Sure. That sounds like the ultimate weekend. Shady Lady in the Hill House Manor. So,
yep. Oh man.
Anyway,
I'm already making plans.
I think it's time to call it. Well, if you want to make plans, you know how to get in contact with Linda and book through her website. And I'd like to thank you, Linda. You've been absolutely fantastic. Love some of the stories you've been telling us about, and I'm more than keen to come over and check out the Hill House Manor. And I think Fernando's going to beat me to it.
And I thank you for being the person you are with this location, because that is rare. That is rare. I appreciate that.
And as Fernando said, you're an absolute gem. And please go and check out her books, buy her books, and go and visit the house and tell us all about it. So I think it's time that we should let you guys get some sleep and take it easy, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
Have a good one, guys.